Yo guys, what's up? Welcome back to r/IDontWorkHereLady, where Karen goes absolutely bananas and a poor 911 dispatcher gets harassed at a restaurant. If you are new around here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button because I upload daily. And now let's dive right in. Work here? I'm not even from this country. This happened just after Christmas and I'm still not sure what I could have done differently. I moved from Australia to the Netherlands about 3 months ago. Luckily, every person I've met here has spoken English or had enough patience to understand my terrible Dutch. Well, me and partner ordered Chinese online and decided to pick up as it's literally around the corner and the estimated delivery time was about an extra 20 minutes. Now, as an expat Aussie living in a bloody cold country, I was in my tracky decks, sweatpants, UGG boots, Australia's most comfortable invention, and my year 12 jumper, a hoodie every Aussie kid gets in their last year of high school. Definitely nothing like the uniform the Chinese restaurant workers had on. Finally, I look like your stereotypical Aussie, bronzed, tall, blue-eyed, blonde hair. Everybody that was in uniform do not look like that. I go up to the counter and in Dutch I ask about my order. Well, I must have been close enough because he checked the bags, then told me in English and better than my Dutch to have a seat and wait. Something then caused him to leave the counter. In walks Dutch lady. She beelines straight to me and starts yelling and looks about as angry as a cut snake. I stand up as I'm starting to feel a bit intimidated. I then try to interrupt and use one of my favorite phrases, Ik spreek Nederlands, which means I don't speak Dutch. At least that's what I would say if I could get a word in sideways. When she starts to turn blue and stop for a breath, I finally jump in. Apparently that was a mistake. Now she's in a rage and redder than that time Barry forgot to use sunscreen at the cricket. I've had enough and tell her in English to piss off. Lucky for me, the squawking of this lady brought the bloke working the counter to come rushing back. There was an exchange between them and he passes her some bags of food. She storms out with her food. The Chinese guy explains to me that she thought I was the delivery guy. She, like everybody else, had been waiting extended times for their food because they were so busy, which was clearly stated on the website. Apparently, what pissed her off more was that they apparently hired a delivery driver that cannot speak Dutch. He apologized and there happened to be an extra fried rice in my bag when I did get my order. I would just like to say that every other Dutch person I've met has been great. I'm loving my time here and hope to work here for a long time to come. You know, given that he's from Australia, I'm quite surprised that he has not used the famous letter C word a single time throughout the story. But anyway, let's continue. Bananas. I was shopping for groceries at a ShopRite. Their store colors and uniform were black and green. At this point in my life, I was a high school teacher, but I had also worked customer service jobs for over 10 years, which I think informs my reaction. I was wearing a red and blue hoodie with the hood up, headphones on and completely oblivious to my surroundings. By no means did I look like I was working there. I was also carrying around a basket with some avocados, a pineapple and other assorted produce. One thing I definitely did not have at the moment: bananas. So I am looking around for something and I'm not really moving but standing out of the way of other customers. I am sort of registering a strange voice speaking, but as many others on this subreddit, I have no reason to assume I am being spoken to. I finally find what I'm looking for and want to head that way when I realize there's a cart blocking my way. The lady pushing the cart is looking at me and saying something. She looked like she's about 60 and is roughly 1.6 meters tall. Her voice sounded like she had been smoking every day since she was 13. I take my headphones off and realize she's yelling at me. Bananas! I look at her incredulously, but she repeats herself, this time louder. Bananas! I'm sorry, what? Where are the bananas? I had been having a good day, I didn't have work, was looking forward to cooking myself dinner and playing some games. I was not expecting an old lady to be yelling at me about bananas. Now, I don't handle confrontation very well, so when I respond, I immediately match her attitude. I don't know where the bananas are. I don't care where the bananas are. After this, she looked surprised and annoyed and started muttering to herself something about manager and rude. Exactly what you would imagine someone like her would say. At this point, I realize I handled the situation wrong and that I had an opportunity. So I go up to her as she finds someone who definitely does work for ShopRite and may have been a manager. Hey, before you start screaming at this guy too, you need to know 1. I don't work here. 2nd, even if I did, I don't know who you think you were talking to, but you do not speak to another human being like that. I think the teacher in me and the 10 years of pent-up customer service anger got let out onto this angry banana addict. I did not stay to find out her reaction. You could say that lady was bananas. If you have watched until here, please post some stars in the comments if you enjoy my content. Crazy woman with Stepford kids. I was with my work partner and we were standing in the checkout line at a store. We were buying supplies for the forensic unit, so of course we were wearing our uniforms with our radios chittering away, listing off traffic stops, accidents or whatever was going on in the city at the time. We commonly get mistaken for police officers, so when we are out and about in the city, not responding to crime scenes, we have to be polite and professional at all times. There were only 2 registers open and we were about 5th or 6th in line to the register. In front of us was a lady with 5 small children. 1 was in a stroller and of the other 4, I would guess the eldest was 7 or maybe 8 at the most. This lady was actively negotiating with 3 of the children about how much the snacks they wanted cost and how much of their money they would have to give up to purchase said snacks. This went on for at least 10 minutes while we all moved closer to the register. None of the children ended up buying any snacks. A few minutes later and the woman with the children was at the register. The woman turned to wrangle one of her children, saw us and said, "Oh look, police officers, but they do other things besides the police we see. Ask them what they do." Then she looked at me and snapped her fingers at me. For the record, when she snapped her fingers, it was over the head of one of her children and about 2 feet from my face. I blinked in surprise because I think the last time anyone snapped their fingers at me like that, I was probably 5 years old. I did not initially react because of the shock, so I'm sure my resting face had not moved. I've been told that my resting face is powerful. She did a long sigh, waved her hand at me in a hurried, dismissive wave and said very loudly, "Tell them what you do," and went back to speaking to the clerk, who, for the record, during my exchange with the woman was looking at me with a horrified expression on his face. I was then looking at 4 very small faces with wide eyes. No one spoke. We all just kind of looked at each other. I glanced at my work partner and noticed he had a pretty perplexed look on his face. I know for a fact he was mulling over in his head, as I was, as to how we could politely cuss this woman out, but alas, neither of us could do that. My work partner shrugged at me and I turned back to the children. Apparently realizing nothing was happening, the woman turned and exclaimed, "Ask her what she does." And like some of the Stepford wives, all 4 at the same time and with monotone voices asked me, "What do you do?" Oh no, not creepy at all, not one bit. Insert heavy sarcasm. I'm pretty sure I took a step back. I know my work partner did because his radio hit a display and knocked some packages of candy on the floor. As he scrambled to get all the packages off the floor, I gave the children some basic info describing what my work partner and I do, and it was obvious they had no idea what I was talking about. As one, they turned to look at their mother, who was demanding the clerk honor an expired coupon, and then they looked back at me. I blinked. You see, normally kids want to know what all my gear on my belt is for, or to try on my head, or ask why I have 2 pocket knives, or play with my flashlight, etc, etc. These kids just stared at me. Even my radio went silent. Do you have any questions? I asked. Nothing. No response. the woman was nearly in a frenzy with the cashier, who had now called over a manager to assist him. I turned to look at my work partner, who was now actively looking at anything but me or these children. And then we heard the voice of angels on the store intercom proclaim, "Aisle 7 is open." My work partner and I fled to aisle 7. You know, this Karen is a little bit different, because the part about her teaching her kids to be responsible when it comes to spending money seems kind of reasonable. But then the general lack of respect and finger snapping surely proclaims that she's a classic Karen. But let's continue. Mr. Matt Mayonnaise Man. Just a quick note, I technically work at the grocery store where this story takes place, but I am a barista at a chain kiosk in the store. I was not trained to deal with the food or location of anything or anything at all having to do with the grocery part, just the coffee kiosk. The people who work in the supermarket wear all black, while us baristas can wear more color along with our aprons. Since today was an American holiday, Independence Day, and we are one of the few grocery stores open in the area, the store was packed. People were rushing around, getting last-minute necessities for barbecues and parties and that sort of thing. And a lot of them would stop and get a coffee while they shop, so we were very busy. I'm a newbie, so I'm the first one called on to run the very back of the store to grab things when we run out of them up front at the kiosk. While I was walking to the back, I make eye contact with a man a short distance in front of me who looks a little frustrated, and he starts to walk towards me. He stops right in front of me, and without greeting me or acknowledging me beyond the initial eye contact, he says, "I'm looking for a specific type of mayonnaise." I smile at him apologetically and motion towards my apron, telling him that I work at the coffee kiosk and I don't know where any kind of mayonnaise is located. But I would be happy to find him someone who could help him. He did not appreciate this answer. He says, "Well, how do you not know where mayonnaise is?" I let him know that I work with the coffee and not with any of the food in the store, and direct him to a stocker only 3 feet away to help him, and I attempt to go back on my way to get replenishment for my team. As I turn away, he yells, "I just need some damn mayonnaise," and storms off. Oh well, I tried to help. After I grab the milks and syrups and walk towards the front, I see the same angry man yelling over the counter at my manager about the incident. "Your worker purposely wasted my time, so I cannot be with my family." My manager is trying to calm him down and asks about the situation. If his drink was made wrong, if it was never made, that sort of thing. He won't tell her anything more than that I wasted his time, which at this point he had been yelling for longer than the length of our interaction. He's beyond reasoning with at this point, so my manager gives him a free drink card and a card with corporate's number on it. He takes the cards and walks back into the grocery area, probably to look for the mayonnaise, and I fill my manager in on the situation. She ends up laughing and tells me I handled it correctly and not to worry, because even she doesn't know where the mayonnaise is. You know, I was really wondering why people would behave like that. Like, what do they try to accomplish here? And someone in the comments said this: "I cannot stand people who just scream without giving any information. What do you want? You just like embarrassing yourself?" And then someone else says, they want something for free, because they feel like they've been slighted, so they freak and get something for free. Then the pattern repeats. Bingo! I worked retail and I had people try pull fast stuff all the time, and my manager at the time had the spine of a wet noodle, so things like a miniskirt with clear butt cheeks imprints were returned because the girl threw a fit. Once they learn they can get away with it, they will keep doing it, kinda like a toddler. I work for emergency services, but I'm out in a private restaurant. Leave me alone. I was not sure if this fit the subreddit, but I thought I would give it a shot. I am a 911 dispatcher. We dispatch police, fire and EMS for a small town. We normally work 12-hour shifts, but once a month or so, each of us works a half shift to make the hours come out even. As a general rule, I don't wear my uniform when I'm out in public, but one particular night a few weeks ago, my short night started at midnight and I went to eat dinner before coming into work. I was sitting at a restaurant by myself and a random guy that I did not know walked up to me and said,
"Hey, I need you to get a speeding ticket fixed for me."
I told him that I did not work for the police department, that I worked for emergency services and had no control or input over traffic tickets. He tried to argue for a minute but then finally walked away after I told him he should go to the police department and file a complaint or talk to a supervisor if he thought it was issued improperly. He said it wasn't, he just wanted it fixed, and I repeated again that I had no input over traffic tickets. Our uniform emblem does not say police on it, it just says emergency services. Nothing else happened, it was just a story I thought some of you might be interested in hearing. I don't really get that, to be honest. Even if that guy was a police officer, why would he help that random guy? Especially if the ticket was legitimate. But do you guys have any insight on that? From what I heard, most tickets are state forms, so once they are written they cannot just be cancelled. Unless you go to court, of course. But anyway, let's continue. Apparently, speaking a foreign language in a Chinese supermarket makes you Chinese. So I was in a Chinese supermarket when a friend of mine rang me. Said friend is Japanese and doesn't speak much English, and I speak Japanese, so I have a 5-minute conversation with her while shopping, then I put down my phone and go to the checkout. Enter crazy lady CL. CL loudly,
"Do you speak English?"
Me, yes. CL still loudly,
"Where's the..."
Random thing she wanted, cannot remember what it was. Me, "You don't need to shout, I'm sorry, I don't know where it is." CL,
"Well, you aren't a very good employee."
Me, "I don't work here," holds up shopping basket. CL,
"Of course you work here, you're Chinese."
Me, "I'm not Chinese." CL,
"Of course you are, I heard you speaking Chinese on the phone."
Me, "I was speaking Japanese, and even if I was Chinese, that wouldn't necessarily mean I worked here. I'm pretty sure a lot of Chinese people shop here too." CL,
"Well, you should speak English while you're working."
Me, "I don't work here." CL,
"Well, how does that help me?"
Me, "It doesn't." At this point, I just walked off. The OP also mentioned that she's white, has blonde hair and blue eyes. So I'm not sure exactly how she can be mistaken for Chinese. Alright guys, that's all the content I have for you today. Please don't forget to like the video, because that really helps to get my video recommended so that more people can see it. And also, please consider to click the bell icon, which is next to the subscribe button, so you don't miss any of my uploads. So I hope you have a fantastic day, and I see you again tomorrow.